how do you make it super easy, the most comfortable thing in the world, to play across the fretboard instead of being locked down in boxed vertical shapes? I used to wonder about that. Why do it seem like there was a wall, right? You've been playing these... You've been playing these vertical shapes, and those are really cool because you can have your hand stay in the same place, and it's easier to hit the frets, right? It's easier to navigate because you're not all over the place. So that's fine in the beginning. But we fail to move out of that, and there are two reasons for that. First of all, if you move across the fretboard, you cover more space. So you have more notes to learn, right? And you also have to move from position to position, and that kind of, gives you that, whoa, where am I? It's easier when you're in the same fret, especially with the first position minor shape or minor pentatonic shape or the blues scale shape. You have your first finger in the same fret, so you can always, I know where I am, right? As soon as you start moving, you become shaky. But you're not used to it. That's the whole point, right? We spend so much time playing vertical shapes, staying in one position or moving from position to position so we know where we are, like, right? Robotically moving through the scale. So we train ourselves to do that because we have these CAGED shapes, which is a really cool way of chopping up the fretboard so you can learn each bit after another, right? It's just too overwhelming, too many dots to learn if you just looked at the fretboard as one shape and you had to learn it all just like that, like, okay, this is the shape, go home and practice it. You want to chop things up. But once we've been doing that, we've been playing vertically and we've been looking at these shapes across the fretboard, that's what we're trained to do. And with anything you practice, you can get prepared to practice the opposite of that afterwards. We rarely see that. So if you've been practicing a sequence for instance, forever, and you've been, putting in your hundreds or thousands of repetitions, and you've been alternate picking or whatever it is, and then you want to learn something new, your brain is going to try and play the old thing all the time. Right? You're trying to learn a variation to what you already learned. Whatever it is, and your brain is it wants to move in the same grooves because we're creatures of habit. So if you've been doing something a lot, then you have to break out of that. So now you not only have to learn something new, you also have to break out of the old and unlearn it, actually. But if we know the road ahead, if we know the obstacles, we can just, hey, that's the deal, right? I'm making progress. Hey, I seem uncomfortable playing the first position blues scale shape now. Eureka! What a cool thing! Right? Because that actually tells you that you have now ingrained another pattern, another scale pattern, another way of moving across the fretboard that has become so comfortable, so well known to you, that the brain doesn't want to go out of it again. That is success, right? Most people just learn stuff to a good level, or a poor level, so they never get to that point where something becomes so familiar that you can actually use it to create music intuitively in the moment. So those are the challenges, really. So we have to really amp up and say, okay, what do we do, right? And in order for you to start moving horizontally across the neck, you must decide to only do that for a month, 2 months, right? 12 weeks, and say, I'm not going to touch the horizontal patterns or the vertical patterns. I'm only going to play, and I'm going to give you a shape in a second that I want you to stick with for a couple of weeks. And everything you play is going to be in that shape. Everything, solos, when you just noodle around, you just play around on the fretboard, you cannot touch the first position minor pentatonic or the first position blues scale shape, or whatever is most comfortable to you. So I'm asking you to take what you are best at and step out into beginner zone again, which is also uncomfortable, right? I remember trying to learn trying to arrange my way out of a Godfather theme. I just, just see if I could, create it for guitar so it sounded really cool. And my girlfriend came in and say, did you have a hemorrhage or something? You sound like a beginner. And you have to be willing to sound like a beginner again, because otherwise you'll stagnate. Nothing will happen. Okay? So let's come up with a cool fretboard pattern. I'm just going to give you one of the simplest one in my new program. You'll find a ton of these, a ton of very logical ways of taking scale shapes and putting them out in a vertical/horizontal manner on the fretboard, so you can do that in seconds. Just going to give you one, and then I'm going to ask you to play everything in that shape only for at least a week and do it every day. And more importantly, do not touch the shapes that you are most comfortable with. Not even a single time. Start from scratch with this shape and then try to return back and see how it actually might seem a little bit uncomfortable playing what you thought was most comfortable before, which is the old shape. Okay, so let me show you just a simple way of laying out the notes on the fretboard so you can learn that in a couple of seconds, and I hope you'll commit to this challenge. Let's look at it. We're going to base this on the A blues scale. This is the first I learned, and it's the key I learned the first. So we got the first position, just visualize that. We got the first position blues scale here, minor blues scale, in the 5th fret. So 5, 8 on the low string here, on the low E, and then 5, 6, 7 on the A. I think you know this. And the 5th and 7th on the D string. 5, 7, 8. We're not going to play this, but 5, 7, 8 on the G string. And 5, 8 on the B and E string. That is the first position blues scale here. But I'm only going to play the first 2 strings here. Now we're going to lay down an octave pattern, which is just a simple system of how to lay out notes on the fretboard. There are tons of others that are as simple, or almost as simple. So we're going to take the first one, the 5th and the 8th on the low E string. And then we got the 5, 6, 7 on the A string. And that's it. Then I'm going to add the note in the 10th fret on the A string. So we got this kind of shape. Got a minor 3rd there, then a chromatic thing going on here, 5, 6, 7, and then the 10th fret. That's the shape that we're going to replicate across the fretboard. And you can start by just playing the shape with no sequences, nothing. So if you wanted to play it like that, you go and just reach for the... That's not how we're going to play it when we use it, but you just slide up with your 3rd finger. Right? Then the same shape actually reproduces itself in the 7th fret, starting from the D string. Please follow along, learn the shape here. Just fool around with it for a couple of minutes so you don't get overwhelmed if you're about to get overwhelmed as we move down here. Just so you have it down. Then I'm going to play the same structural thing. 7 and 10 on the D. Same notes, just 1 octave higher. 7 and 10 on the D, and then 7, 8, 9 on the G string. Right, so. And then I'm going to take that minor 3rd again and reach up to the 12th fret. Same shape. Right? You might actually practice this first. Right, so you got that down, then practice this, spend 5 minutes, just so you get the dots connected or the notes of the scale connected to where you are on the fretboard. You can actually see them without playing them. You can visualize, okay, there we go, chromatics there, minor 3rd there. Once you can see them, and you can also see this, right, 10th, 7th, and then chromatic here. Once you have that down, you can move on to the 3rd octave, and that's a little bit odd because with this octave, we got 2 frets up and 2 strings down. With the next octave, we got 3 frets up and 2 strings down. So there's an extra little jump there because of the B string anomaly. So like that. So we are in the 10th fret on the B string, 10 and 13 on the B, and then same as, right? So 10th fret, and then on the high E string, 10, 11, and 12. And by now, you know that we'll reach up for the 15th fret up here. Right? So we got 3 sets of the same structure, which is one of the easiest way of going in this direction. Now, so how do you practice this? Well, first of all, you just play it up and down, and what is often the most difficult for people is to play the top 2 strings, because when you come from the middle 2, there's that extra jump. So I really recommend that you pinpoint, you make a note of the fact that the first note in that last shape is in the 10th fret on the B string. So when you come from this, you practice this jump here, right? And when you go back again, you say, okay, where is it? It's in the 12th fret on the G string. That's my... So circle around this little area here if it's a problem to you, right? So once you've got it down, you might spend a half an hour just playing up and down, and please improvise as you do, because this right? If you play up and down, this is what you're going to play when you start soloing. So have fun with it. Right? So I picked the blues scale here because that's what most guitarists are very comfortable with. Now it's completely effed up, right? It looks in a totally different way. But I want you to commit to playing only in this for an entire week. Or, even better, 2 weeks. Just stick with it and do not touch your old bass. Do not go back to your old comfort zone. Every time you pick up your guitar, that's the shape you play. Every time you play a solo over a jam track, which I advise you to do every single day, then this is the shape. You might move it to other keys, but this is the shape, right? Okay, so I hope you'll commit to that, and then I'll see you in the next video, and go check out the new program here. Have fun.